So with the movement set up, we now need to do the same thing for our rotation. We still want to be inside of the plane player. We're going to go into the HandleRotation function. I'm going to make a very similar update here. And this is another nice thing is that we can start making the code a little bit more uniform because the logic behind it will be very similar. So in fact, we can take our initial steps here. We're going to move this down, we'll unhook this, and we'll keep anything that we might come back to a little bit later. But like I saw previously, we will just be completely getting rid of that by the end. Now, the first thing is we want to get our sequence. We're going to do the same thing again. So we'll take a sequence node and we'll start keeping this nice and tidy because we're going to need to do quite a lot of calculation for this. So we'll make sure that we keep our code lined out nice and neat. Now, there is a little bit extra we need to do for the rotation because, like I've said previously, it was somewhat of an arbitrary value just being multiplied against current speed with nothing really else accounted for. So we're going to do a little bit of clamping and tidying to make this a little bit more refined as well. So what we want is we're going to take our current speed, we'll get to the current speed that we have. So we're still going to base it roughly off the same thing, but with some modifications. The way we're going to do this is from current speed, we want to make use of something called a map range clamped. This is going to map one range of values to another, perfect for converting speed to a specific tilt angle. In range A is going to be our movement speed negated. So we'll right click, we'll search for movement speed because this is being accessed from our parent class. The actual target speed, the maximum speed we can move. So we're going to get the movement speed. We're going to multiply this by -1. Feel free to give yourself space as you're going through. So that's going to be our in range A. In range B is simply going to be the movement speed. So unaltered there. And again, just giving myself a little bit more space as we're going to need some more stuff down here. Then we're going to need a new value for our maximum and minimum tilt that we want to reach. So this is where we actually now start getting a little bit of control. So we can say we either want this to be able to tilt a maximum of 15 degrees at any one time, or 25, or whatever you wanted. In the rotation category, and again, if you've got categories, that's fine. If not, just grab any float that you have. I'm going to grab my tilt factor, duplicate this, and I'll call this one max tilt. Hit compile, and I think by default, I will give this a maximum value of 15, so this will clamp us to rotating 15 degrees either way. You could create a minimum tilt, which would be -15, but similar to what we've done here, instead we're just going to grab our max tilt, and we'll multiply this by -1, and that will be our out range A, and you'll start seeing how this all works, hopefully as you see these come together. Then we're going to grab our max tilt, and then this will be our out range B. So we're going to take our current speed, whatever our current speed is as this is being calculated. If it's somewhere between 0 and negative our maximum movement speed, so I think that was 1000, then our maximum tilt is going to be ranged from 0 to -15 based on a kind of a percentage, a uniform value that would match roughly where that speed is. And then vice versa. If we're moving right, then we're going to take our maximum movement speed 0 to +1000, and I'm going to pick a tilting value between 0 and 15 degrees. So this is how we can actually now clamp rather than just having completely arbitrary rotation either way. We're actually basing that specifically between whatever our current speed is and then mapped between the actual speeds we can reach. And this makes it really easy to update. If we ever wanted to say have more of a tilt but keep the speed the same, then we can just increase this. So I could say you can now tilt up to 25 degrees instead of just 15. For testing, I think I'll keep it at 15, but we can play around with that very easily. We then want to promote this to a variable. So whatever this calculates, we're going to promote to another variable. I'll call this one target tilt. So very similar to how the first thing we did in movement was calculate our target speed and plug this into then 0, move this up, and we're probably going to have to do a fair amount of tidying here to keep this more readable, just because there's a lot more kind of maths going on in this function. Rotation's just always a little bit more intricate and fiddly than calculating movement or general kind of location or even scale offsets. Now, the target alpha is actually so similar, I'm going to be a little bit lazy. I'm going to go back into handle movement. I'm going to grab all of the code here, press Ctrl-C, so we're going to get all of these nodes here. The only thing we don't want is the move alpha. We're going to come back in here into the rotation, and we're going to plug this in to a value in a moment. Now, the only thing that we may want to do is I'm going to move our target tilt into the rotation category. I'm actually going to rename this because we've got some slightly different naming conventions going on. So I'm going to grab the rotation interp speed and change this to tilt because we've decided that everything else is kind of being classified as tilting rather than rotating. I'm going to control drag the tilt interp speed and then plug that in there. So we can get rid of movement interp speed at the beginning. But other than that, we're doing exactly the same thing. We're taking our tilt interp speed, multiplied by the get world delta seconds, multiplied by -1, getting the exponential return, and then we're creating that again, our decaying curve over time. So we're taking all of these values away from 1. So the result of this will then be another new variable. So we'll promote this to another variable, and we'll call this one tilt alpha. Because we're going to want to do the same thing again, we'll be plugging this into our own interpolation or lerp node that we're going to be in full control of. So we'll just move this up again, trying to keep things somewhat tidy. I think just for cleanliness and space, I'm just going to delete this now. We don't need to go through step by step like we did earlier. We just won't be using anything from the old code here. So we're going to create another sequence pin. We want to do our next stage of logic. This one's very simple. So very similar again to the third stage in our previous code. We're going to set our current tilt. And I think just looking at it now, we're probably going to start mixing up values here. So max tilt we want and we're currently using. Tilt factor, I think we're going to miss. So I'm going to rename this one tilt factor to current tilt. And that word is slowly losing all meaning. I've said that a few too many times. We're going to alt drag this in and plug the execution pin in. And again, the value that we want to fill in here, just making sure if we hit compile that this doesn't have a default value anymore. So we'll set that to 0. This value will be calculated based on another lerp. So same thing again, a floating lerp. And same thing again. So we're going to take our current tilt, our target tilt, and our alpha. So nice and simple. Pretty much as I mentioned, like the movement, but now all rotation or tilt related. So you can see the pattern. We've actually been able to use basically the same code. So once you understand this once, very easy to reuse it and remake it. We've needed to get a little bit more intricate with the initial part of the rotation up here, but otherwise very similar. So we can do the same thing again. We want one more pin, and this is going to be actually using these values and setting the rotation. So same thing again. This time we do want to use the set actor rotation function call. So we'll plug this down here and we'll come back up and do a little bit of a tidy with some reroutes a bit later. We'll split the structure pin like we did previously. We're going to take our current tilt value and we'll plug that into the X because we're doing this on the roll. And that's pretty much it, but we've got the same steps again. So set the target, set the alpha, set the current, and then use the current as the value. Now I'm just going to come in, as I mentioned, we will do a little bit of tidy up because this is getting somewhat cramped and difficult to read. I think that's fine if I'm not going to spend too much time prettying up the nodes, but that's enough just to keep things separated. And like I mentioned, I don't want to use huge chunks of time just commenting my code. Not the most useful thing to see on stream or on a video. But if you wanted to do a similar thing, just a small thing to take away in between topics, maybe again, pause the content and just set yourself a task to make sure you understand what's happening. Read the code and the rotation and see if you can give yourself some good comments to describe exactly what's happening here, why we're using the range clamp and things like that. Again, the core thing is that if you needed to come back and look at the code in a month or two's time, at a glance, this is much easier to see what's happening than this currently is. I'd need to come back through and read in depth. But let's just go ahead and check that everything's working. I think the main thing, we've got our max tilt is set to 15, so we should only see a 15-degree tilt either way. And obviously we're just negating that based on the movement speed. Movement speed is still 1000, which I think is perfectly fine. If it does feel a bit more sluggish, then we can come back and increase that later. The interp speed, I think we want to slow this down a little bit now. So I think we're going to set this down to 3 rather than 10, because our decay curve is going to work a little bit differently to what we were doing with finterp 2. And then target, current, and alpha should all be getting set at runtime, so they should start at 0, which is perfect. And then we're just using that here. So this should, I think, now work. So if we come back in, press play. Yeah, there we go. I think it looks different, but we can see it's very much the same. I think I kind of prefer the way this looks. It's a lot more sort of, it just feels a bit more refined. So that's pretty good. And like I've mentioned, this is now where the flexibility comes in. If you wanted to change the speed, so maybe that was interpolating too slow, we can increase this. So we'll go back into play mode over here. So we're getting back into, it straightens you out a little bit faster. So that's fine. And then if you wanted, and like I've mentioned before, if you're not sure what something is doing or which way a value should go, if you make it really drastic, so make a really big change, and you can see that's almost like flicking straight back when we let go. So that decay is happening much faster when we're flicking straight back. So that might look a little bit nicer actually. So maybe I was wrong. Maybe going to a higher value rather than lower would have been better for that. Nice and easy to test, but this is the main thing. Try to instill into the way that you think about your own code base. Making things easy for you to update and tweak things later will make it more likely that you'll refine the game and make it better. If your project is really hard to work with, you're much less likely to want to make refinements and spend that time to improve the game. So just more of a design thing there, which is always fun to think about. The final thing is maximum tilt. So if we grab max tilt, if I make this something much bigger, like 45 degrees, just to show off the difference we can get, if we now float, you can see that when we start reaching the maximum speed, we're hitting that higher maximum tilt angle. So this is how that comes into play. Probably don't want it to rotate quite that much, but you may want it to go up to something maybe more like 25 to make it more visually noticeable. But the main thing that we have over the previous implementation is, as you saw, it wasn't really doing any specific calculation to reach a certain angle of rotation based on speed or anything. It was just going as far as possible within a given amount of time. Whereas now we've got a bit of control. Depending on our current speed, we can control exactly how much we rotate. And then the really important thing to check is I'm going to throw in some console commands. We'll get rid of the enemies. We don't need those to keep flying into us. I'm going to go into play mode. I'm going to give myself the stat FPS console command. So we can see I'm running at 120 FPS. I'll put myself straight down to 30. And again, we should be seeing, we're getting a much less pleasant frame rate to look at, but we're still getting only 25 degrees rotation, and we're hitting it at what we should hopefully see in a moment, roughly the same speed. So if I now increase that to 60, we're only reaching the same rotation, the same sort of pitch tilt, or roll tilt, sorry. And we're doing that in roughly the same amount of time. And then if we go up to 120, or actually we'll just uncap this, we'll say like 600. So I can get around about 300 FPS. It looks smoother, but the movement's happening at the same speed, and the rotation is taking the same number of frames or seconds to get there. So we've now completely fixed the frame rate independence issue that we had previously. So the movement, remember, wasn't really that big of an issue, but the rotation had an issue where, even though we were multiplying by delta seconds, because of that, just the type of logic the finterp functions are using, remember that we're able to essentially rotate the wing into the floor because the rotation wasn't clamped. The different frame rates were affecting it differently. So we've now completely solved that problem. We've had to get a little bit more kind of knee deep in some of the mathematics, made use of the more rudimentary simplified lerp function, but by taking the reins a little bit with our own code, we've now solved a whole bunch of problems which have been shipped in. You'll probably find a lot of games, because a lot of games are released based on content example project code and stuff like that. That's the test complete though. We have the same movement speed, we have the same rotation limits, there's no wing clipping through the floor. The exponential formula is what gives us the mathematically correct interpolation at any frame rate whatsoever. I hope that more in-depth content like this hasn't completely frozen your brain and stopped you from keeping up. But that's really been the goal of the topics when I was creating these, is to try and get people thinking more about their code base and what's happening under the hood and not just following along. So hopefully this is now getting to the point where you can see the benefits of what we've been doing. Like I mentioned right from the beginning, this is taking a lot longer than it could have done. And I could have just edited out a lot of the trivial information, or what may have seemed like trivial information, but I think you would have missed a lot of the learning potential and actually understanding what you're doing. The goal here is that hopefully you can watch something like this, save yourself watching another 2 or 3 other tutorial series or courses or whatever the case may be, because you're actually getting much more hands-on with the systems and fixing things that even exist in the official learning content by Epic. So hopefully there's value in that. So if you wanted to really start refining your project now, this is where you have probably got the general kind of understanding of what we're going to be doing. We've got our project organized to a pretty rigid and solid place. So if you wanted to start experimenting between topics, this is where you may want to put a little bit of the brakes on. Again, this isn't a race. We're not aiming to get the project finished as quickly as possible. We're aiming to get you leaving, understanding what you're doing and how to expand upon what you've already learned. So maybe do something simple, even if it's just going into your own code, seeing if you can now comment and describe what your code is doing back to yourself using some good comments, or categorize the variables. If you've noticed you've got this long list of variables and you can see a way to improve that, then start adding categories to your variables. Just simple things to keep your project structured, tidy, easy to work with. Remember, the main goal is sequences are your flow control, making it more readable like normal scripted code or written code. Good comments explain the intent rather than just describing the variable name. So things like, you could just have a comment saying interpolation alpha, but a good comment would be calculate the frame rate independence values based on interpolation alpha, things like that, to kind of give you a descriptor at a glance of what you're doing and why. With that done though, the movement system is production ready. We've got smooth, controlled, frame rate independent movement and rotation for the player, which is the heaviest and sort of most complex class we're going to have in the project. Next, we'll be looking at spawning enemies dynamically during gameplay, rather than just placing them manually, which is obviously going to be a little bit restrictive for a full game. As I've said before, and you've probably seen this more in the last couple of topics than anywhere else so far, I appreciate that the content that I've created in this series is very unique, very niche. And if you appreciate the amount of depth that I'm going into, and this is something you find useful, your support for the channel will be really helpful and much appreciated going forward. I know that the YouTube algorithm isn't going to bless me with any views for this. It's going to reach just a very small niche group of people. The outreach is going to be much lower than some of the easier topics that I know I could have covered. So if you wanted to see more like this, and you were already considering picking up a YouTube membership or a Patreon tier with some of the rewards that I've provided, that would be really appreciated, so that I know that this type of content is still something that people want to see more of. Big thank you to all of the people already supporting on Patreon through YouTube memberships. That support is always appreciated, and I just hope you find something useful from topics like this.